Reading up and watching some of these Asian countries is truly interesting because many of them are in their find out season. They have done some truly silly things where they really lacked foresight. The patriarchy has really jacked themselves up. The men's have really jacked themselves up, and it has taken literally one generation of men having absolutely no foresight to really see how detrimental to their own country it has been. So this was in the Business Insider, and there is also an article in the Wall Street Journal behind a paywall. But we're going to talk about this. Chinese women are fed up with Xi Jinping's attempts to make them have more kids. They said, get someone else to do it. The Chinese government is trying to incentivize women to have more children. A government campaign to foster a birth friendly culture is appealing to matchmaking events. Many Chinese women are defying the mounting pressure to have more children. Okay, before we get into the article, let's look at this chart. What you're seeing is the sex ratio in China, and this is in 2022. Now, if you look, you're seeing the numbers of how many, like if there's 100 women or 100 females, so it could be girls or women. If, like, let's look at the age 5 to 9. For the ages 5 to 9, there for every 100 girls, there are 112 boys. So starting out young, there are way more boys than girls. In ages 10 to 14, there are 114 boys to 100 girls. You start getting up into the age where people might be thinking about having kids, like 20 to 24. There are 113 men to 100 women. Ages 25 to 29, 111 men to 100 women. Now, you might say, 111 minus 100, that's just 11. You have to think about there are millions of people. So this is a humongous gap. The gender or sex ratio in China has been a contentious issue since the introduction of the one-child policy in 1979. Intended to limit the population of the country. Although the policy is no longer in place, the population gender difference throughout the country is still evident. In 2022, 15 to 19-year-old children had the largest gender disparity of 115 males to 100 females. While the difference in gender at birth has been decreasing in the country over the past decade, China still boasts the world's most skewed sex ratio at birth at around 110 males born for every 100 females as of 2021. That means there are about 34 million more men in the country than women. This imbalance likely came from the country's traditional preference for male children to continue the family lineage. They kept pedestalizing boys. How, like, what kind of foresight did they have? Like, you can't delete that many girls from your population and not think of what would happen later on. These thoughts, making these little boys into little princes. Obviously, someone should have thought this through, but the patriarchy. Now, let's get back to the article. Chinese women are increasingly resisting Beijing's push for more children, put off by the government's harassment and the burdens of child rearing, according to the Wall Street Journal. This defiance poses a crisis for the Communist Party as the nation faces a demographic collapse with fewer than 10 million babies born in 2022 compared to 16 million in 2012, the report says. That is a huge difference in a 10-year span. This seismic demographic shift means that by 2040, China is expected to have 400 million people above the age of 60, a higher number than the entire U.S. population. Amid a decline in birth rate and an aging population, China's leader Xi Jinping has urged action, highlighting the urgency to prevent a further decline in China's population. He told the Communist Party-linked All China Women's Federation in October that women must help establish a new trend of family. Xi also said he wants the Chinese people to actively cultivate a new culture of marriage and childbearing and strengthen guidance on young people's view on marriage, childbirth, and family. But Chinese women are pushing back. I can't afford to take care of anything else outside of my parents and work, Molly Chen told the Wall Street Journal. Despite efforts to promote family values, party lectures, and cash incentives for having more children, many young women view marriage and child rearing as impractical, citing economic concerns and limited personal freedom. The shift in mindset is evident in the decline of registered marriages, falling from 13 million in 2023 to 6.8 million in 2022. That is nearly half. Despite government crackdowns on women's rights activists, a national debate over the treatment of women has erupted. One woman speaking to the journal said it wasn't long ago that she was dodging fines for having too many children. Now she is being harassed by text messages to have more. So they are still not learning. They want to crack down on women's rights, and women are just getting just tighter with their wombs because of it. In the face of Beijing's continued efforts to encourage childbirth, a growing number of women are choosing to remain single and childless, reflecting a complex landscape for China's demographic future. This child-free movement is not going anywhere. This movement of women opting out of marriage is not going anywhere. And this is a result of them being in the find out season. The fact that they are not listening to women as women speak about things like men need to help more with the children and with the chores and taking care of the elderly. The fact that they are not listening and they just think that throwing money at it is going to solve the problem, this is going to bite them in the butt, and it's deserving. They deserve it for edifying and propping up boy children for so long. So I want to come back to the Statista article that I was in earlier that was talking about there are more than 34 million more men in this country than women. And what does that mean? The surplus of young single men across the country poses a risk for China in many different socioeconomic areas. Some of the roll-on effects include males overrepresenting specific labor markets, savings rates increasing, consumption reducing, and violent crime increasing across the country. However, the adult mortality rate in China, that is the probability of a 15-year-old dying before reaching 60, was significantly higher for men than women. For the Chinese population over 60 years of age, the gender ratio is in favor of women, with more females outliving their male counterparts. Basically, the men haven't been listening, and what it is doing, it is cutting the lives short of the men that are here. By edifying them and putting them on pedestals and making them more important, it has bit them in the butt. Patriarchy is eating itself. And that's all I got to say on that. Y'all go ahead and let me know what you think.